So it's kind of weird. I mean, my video was out of focus, and I was using the mouse on the window to see if I can get focus on the, like, I don't know, I thought maybe if I rolled my mouse over my image on the video, it would bring me into focus. I don't know. Maybe that's a nice to have, or a wish list item for Logitech. Anyway, so a number of things. I just want to make a video because I don't like letting it lapse for too long. I always want to keep it up. I think sometimes when I make videos, it even gives me a little bit of a push to continue. You know what I mean? But I've been editing a book, and I've just my concentration, etc., is very it's a rare thing, and I tend to have to focus on certain things like very separately. I am not a multitasker. Just for all you employers out there, if you're looking for somebody that cannot multitask, I'm your guy. Anyway, so first off, I got a comment. The first kind of direct call out on my atheism on Facebook in a very long time. In fact, I think it's the first ever. I don't think I've actually had anybody on Facebook call me out on atheism, like ever, really. But somebody mentioned to me that the fact that we talk about God means that He exists. It's a very it's deceptively clever. I mean, like, what is God? I don't, like, but just talk, really, right? Like, I mean, that's all it is. So as He exists, He exists, right? Like, I mean, but there's two ways I want to address this. First off, we could talk about many things. We could talk about a turd that got stuck in the sewer system last week, Wednesday, right? What does that mean? Like, what does that mean that we talk about it? And along the same line of thought, when we talk about God, like, what does that mean? Does that mean the Bible? Does that mean the Quran? Does that mean the Gita? Like, does that mean the Torah? Does it mean the Hadith? Or what is, like, when we talk about God, what does that mean? Either way, I see you kind of wiping religion off the table, since it seems kind of I don't want to say dogmatic, but it seems kind of fascistic almost, right? Because, I mean, what is talk? Like, are we talking the talk when we talk about God? Like, if we say that, God hates fags, like, is that the talk to have when you talk about God? Are we talking God? Or when you say that, women who bear female children are twice as dirty as women that bear male children, is that the God talk? Are we talking about God? Is that the existence of God? Excuse me. But I think, excuse me, I've been drinking. But I think a very important point is also the nature of God. Like, when you talk about God, are you allowed to talk about the nature of God? Like, is God omnipotent? Like, what is God? Like, what is God? Like, I mean, at some point, it's just a linguistic construct, and even within the linguistic construct, there's problems, because as I've read, numerous times in the past couple of weeks, I'm borrowing here from people on Facebook, but it makes sense. Omnipotence, which we regularly talk about God as being, is a flawed word. Like, the word itself is flawed. It's logically flawed. Like, But if you're saying that it's because of our limits as humans and the limits of our language, then you're also placing almost directly that limit on talking about God. Like, how can you talk about anything that's perfection, or omnipotent, or omniscient, or omnibenevolent, if you as a human being are flawed? So I think there's a yeah. So I guess my main point is we could talk about like lots and lots of things, leprechauns and pixies and nymphs, and like, we could talk about Anubis, or we could talk about that Russell's teapot. We could talk about a lot of things. And the like, say for instance, we're talking about unicorns, and therefore unicorns exist. What kind of responsibility do we have to unicorns, or because of unicorns? Like whether it exists or not. Like, I mean, what kind of responsibility do we have towards unicorns? Like what do we, like, what are we supposed to do? Anyway, so that's my point. Now, the other thing too is, lately I've been veering into this, like, look, I started talking about anti-natalism because I found it just completely unorthodox, but I found it just something that needs to be spoken about. I don't see the practicality of anti-natalism. Like, that just won't happen. Like, it just won't. But I'm getting this vibe that I'm coming off as anti-human, and I'm really not. Like, I am against human suffering. I am against human, death and suffering and things like that. So I think it's important to remember that. Anti-natalism isn't about genocide. It's not about genocide. It's not about human suffering. It's actually trying to mitigate human suffering. But even saying that, I still have to stick with my guns and say I don't see why humans are so great. Like, I read this article on human progress the other day, and it kind of threw a wrench in my gears, because apparently, as limited as resources are, a boom in population growth isn't actually going to deplete anything, according to statistical models and analysis, etc., etc. Like, we're going to be fine, which I believe, because I think the world is getting better. I mean, climate change, for me, it's still a fuzzy area. I think something's going on with the climate, and I think it is a major issue. But according to Steven Pinker, who's on the board of directors of Human Progress, and Miriam Tuppy, climate change is getting better. The air quality has gotten cleaner. And the other day I read that the hole in the ozone layer was mended. Which I kind of lost. I kind of lost that story off for a bit, but the hole in the northern pole is actually mended. It's actually fixed now. So it goes to show that we are making progress. But even given that population increase and all this stuff is going to work out just better than it has in the last, better than it had, like 200-300 years ago and further back, I still don't see the importance of having more kids or having more people. Like, why do we need lots and lots of humans? Like, why? Like, I understand human flourishing, but I mean, and that may come under some scrutiny in light of anti-natalist thought. But I mean, like, why do we need more humans? Like, why? Like, how many billions and trillions of humans do we need? Like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just don't see why we're so great. Like, this is kind of like a John Gray thing as well that he mentioned, which is another book I should be reading, but I don't have money to buy these books, to tell you the God's honest truth, and I'm not going to illegally download them, because I've gotten into trouble for illegally downloading shit before. The ISP actually sends a letter home basically saying, "We notice you've been downloading shit, like, stop." So I just don't want to do it. But he basically said, like, this whole humanist kind of approach. I'm not against human rights. I'm all for human rights. I'm actually for a very scientifically measured approach to human rights. I don't believe that science says that people should die. Like, I absolutely do not, or should suffer or whatever. I don't believe that. But I do find it weird that we have this kind of, according to John Gray as well, so don't just take my word, you go by the book, but like that we have this kind of something like a proto, or like a pseudo kind of religiosity kind of understanding of a religious understanding of humans, of the importance of humans, so yeah, I mean, that's essentially the end of what I want to say. I'm not, I don't hate people. I honestly don't hate people. I'm not a hateful person. I don't wake up feeling hateful. So you know, nothing. It's nothing like that. You know, I would never hurt a fly. I wouldn't hurt a fly. Like I just wouldn't hurt a fly. But yeah, I just noticed that the whole anti-natalist thing was kind of getting into this weird area of maybe this or that. Like I'm just like, you know, I really should read more about anti-natalism because I do find the core concept really solid. But that's for another time. I just wanted to like let you know that, you know, I'm not talking about like eradication or extinction. Well, maybe not extinction, but that's a whole different story. But I mean, I'm not talking about genocide or any kind of like weird, you know, mass killing thing. I do believe that is morally wrong. So anyway, that's about it. Bye.